Thank you for joining our May PKI Insights webinar. I'm excited to share with you today of our PKI Spotlight. Last month, got a lot of feedback from both attendees, registrants, that they wanted to see more of a demo, and so of the tooling and how folks could manage, their PKI posture management using Spotlight. So that's what we're doing today. And I wanted to not only do a quick introduction, but some housekeeping. Housekeeping items. One, there's a chat on your right, should be in the webinar. Please use that. We'll take your questions, comments, feedback, and make sure that you get those back answered, if not on this webinar, but following the webinar itself also. I also wanted to give you guys a heads up and an introduction to a couple of friends that we have on our webinar today. I'll let them introduce themselves really quickly. And then for the most part, I just wanted to set the table and ensure that you stick around. There'll be some poll questions. The poll questions will come throughout. There'll be 3, just to give you a heads up. Please make sure you go through and answer those. That helps us curate the demo as we go along. And then the other housekeeping item is at the end, we'll have some special announcements just for you, those who are attending. So with that said, I'm just going to kick it over to Brad, who's here, as well as Lindsay. 2 people, by the way, who, if you have worked with us in the past, these are folks that you'll be working with directly at PKI Solutions, both from the product side and also on the PKI side when it comes to developing plans and so forth. So with that being said, thank you again for joining us today in this May webinar. And Brad, Lindsay, you want to give a quick intro before we jump into the demo, because I know everybody wants to see the demo, so they don't want to hear me talk. So I'm going to stop.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. I'm Brad Butlick. I'm actually, if you saw the label there, I'm kind of a crypto geek. I've been doing this stuff since the late 90s. I love cryptography, and PKI Solutions is a perfect company for me. Lindsay Bell. Lindsay, you want to kind of introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of go right into kind of a demo.
Sure. I'm Lindsay Bell. I'm the product manager for Spotlight. I've been at PKI Solutions for just about a year, but product management for over 20 years.
Great. Lindsay, while you're pulling that the demo up, because I want to go right into the demo, I want to kind of give a background on this product. PKI Spotlight is very unique. It's kind of one of the first products that's being introduced into this posture management space. Security is one of those interesting things that people don't think about. Security is not a binary thing. It's either security is working or not working. That's not the way it is. There's a whole middle ground between whether security is working and not working. When you really think about it, if security is working properly, those people using it don't know it's working. So if that's the case, how do you know it's secure? So that's where things like this PKI Spotlight comes into play. Is it not only tests whether it's working or not, but also tests whether it's secure. And when I say whether it's secure, there's a lot of people that usually touch PKIs, and they could do some innocent change in the system that has a ripple effect throughout the system, and now it is rendered insecure. So you have this wonderful system in place that's supposed to be protecting some of your corporate assets. Somebody does something innocent, and everything is now unprotected. So that's what this product does. So I want to kind of, Lindsay, give you a brief look at what is the dashboard. This is what you first see when you go into the PKI Spotlight product. So go for it, Lindsay. Give us kind of a look around this.
Sure. So I want to give just some quick context on what Spotlight is and what it isn't. So Spotlight really has 3 main areas we focus on. One is real-time monitoring. The second part is assessment. And the third is alerting. So, and then when we say what Spotlight isn't, it isn't a CLM. It's not a certificate lifecycle manager. It really is a monitoring tool for the infrastructure itself and the certificate templates. So as we go through, feel free to ask any questions and we can address as we go. So when we talk about real-time monitoring, the what's really happening is we have a series of connections into the various services that run on in your PKI. So NDES, OCSP, your CAs, etc., where we actually detect all the events that are occurring. We have informational alerts, warnings, errors, the success messages, etc. So we have an event data stream that'll tell us what's happening in real time. And then when we talk about the event monitoring and the resiliency, that's where we start highlighting the real value of Spotlight. We just had an example this week where a customer of ours had a notification that an ACL changed. A role was being added, a role was being removed, and was happening kind of in a weird time zone compared to what their office hours were. And we were able to discover that. And when they were looking in their logs, they didn't actually have evidence of this change happening because it was happening so quickly on their side. So we were able to uncover some operational issues that had a legacy script that no one knew about because of turnover. We were able to catch kind of this rogue script that was running in the background. We have many such anecdotes for customers finding these weird operational gaps when we start looking at the time series data of the events holistically.
Hey, Lindsay, can you show the topology portion of Spotlight? Because I think that really kind of dives into, the looking at your PKI from a holistic perspective so that you can see this information quickly. I mean, a lot of this information you could get if you were to write scripts within a standard Microsoft PKI. But as I've said many times to other people, it'd be kind of like mowing a golf course. By the time you finish the 18th green, you have to start at the first green again. So here's Spotlight allows you to kind of have a quick glance of all of your different components within within your PKI. So kind of walk people through this if you can, Lindsay.
Yeah, so what we do is we actually crawl the certificate validity chain, and we are able to dynamically generate the tiers in the PKI. So in this case, we actually have an agent running on one of the issuing CAs, but there is no agent on these other two CAs in the chain. But we're able to detect that they're there. It's possible that they're offline CAs. It's possible that they're third party and disconnected from the network, but we still have visibility into the health, at least at a very high level. One of the things that we can look at is CDP AIA status, whether the certificates are available, whether they're expired, certificates are okay, base krills, and then we could actually dive into a specific issuing CA and get more specific details on what's going on. So in this case, this CA is stopped. One of our proprietary technologies that is involved in the real-time monitoring is alive, is not enabled on this service. We have some database statistics and configuration data. And then on this separate tab, we can actually get to the meat, look at all the certificate templates on that CA, all the CDP AIA configuration. So what we've done is, perhaps scripts have been created by the administrators of the PKI to collect some of this information, but we've done this all in a single UI across the entire PKI. So I could actually go to my agent view, see a list of all my active agents or the status of all my agents. And I'll go into this one and see what all the configurations, all the templates, etc.
Let me interrupt for a second, Lindsay. For those people that are kind of PKI administrators on this webinar, how long would it have taken you to collect all the information that Lindsay was able to show in the last 45 seconds? I mean, it probably would have taken you a good long time, and you'd probably have to write the information down in between your queries. So this really kind of brings it to the forefront quickly.
Yes. And to answer David's question, am I able to handle cases of cross-certification, multiple generations of an intermediate CA? Yeah, because we're looking at the issuing CA's certificate, and then we crawl that. So whatever is whatever validity is there is what we actually look at.
Another question came in from Jeff.
A consolidated report of all intermediate CAs. We don't have any reporting built into the tool for that specifically. Do we have all the data? Absolutely. Can we add that feature? 100%.
Yeah, we can export it into any type of we can probably export a CVS or CSV file, and then you can run a report from there.
Correct.
So,
and one of the other key features I want to highlight in relations to real-time monitoring is IsAlive. So IsAlive is a patent pending technology that we have. We have IsAlive for certificate authorities and NDES, and I'll show you examples of both. But really what it's doing is a lot of operational views when they look at PKI health or CA health. So they're really just evaluating whether the CA service is up and running. That's really not enough to determine whether that CA is actually able to issue a certificate. So we have a series of tests kind of built in that says, is the CA running? Is the enrollment interface available? Database view, certificate chain is valid, private keys available, et cetera, et cetera. And when you're working with HSMs, this becomes even more challenging to validate the private key because you're going through an HSM, and we're able to still authenticate that private key with HSM integration, specifically within Cypher.
Please, Lindsay, bring up the HSM spot. That's for those that are using an HSM within their PKI. This is incredibly valuable. A lot of these HSM companies in Cypher, soon to be the Luna, they have remote admin capabilities with their HSMs, but they're more from an administrative perspective. This is from a collection of data perspective. So I can speak from experience that this is very handy to go in and immediately see multiple HSMs simultaneously on your screen, and being able to see what the serial number is in the case of in Cypher, what the current firmware version is, how many licenses are on the device. And this is all information that we've collected from the HSM. And mind you, we can't control the HSM. This is just the data collection piece.
And we're actually rolling out a new feature that we're really excited about, extending the HSM monitoring capabilities for Cypher just in the next release, which comes out end of June, which has IsAlive capabilities for HSM. And really what we're looking at is the individual states of the modules. So you can have a failure state in one of your modules and your PKI still works. But if multiple start failing, that's when you start running into issues. So we are able to surface failure states before it becomes a critical issue.
Yeah, it's pretty great that you can do that. We have a question coming in. How do you handle when the HSM is managed by a separate team and the PKI only has one couple of partitions and cannot access the management interface? Can you address that one, Lindsay?
So if the HSM is managed by a separate team, really what we're using is the NFAS service. So we install an agent on the NFAS service and connect that to the controller. So even if it's managed by a separate team, as long as we can get that team to install the agent that's running the NFAS service, we'll be able to get all the data that we need.
Lindsay, let's move into the Petit Podum and the SpecterOps best practices that we've embedded into the technology.
Sure.
One of the other things that's really kind of special about this.
Great. So that kind of is the real-time monitoring component. So now as we go into the assessment capabilities, really what we're doing is we're applying a series of best practices that have been defined by Mark Cooper, our founder, and our professional service consultants, who determine really what is the optimal configurations that introduce the least amount of risk into your environments. And so when we talk about that, we talk about things like how long is a CRIL publish expiration set for? Is our services running? Do we require subject names in templates, et cetera? So there's over 100 best practices that help people configure their PKI to be the most resilient and the most secure. We look at TLS bindings for various roles. We look at RSA, encryption strength, etc. And we assign severity to these. All of these are alertable, but at the end of the day, when we look at these are part of that assessment capability. It's really the same tests that we run if we're doing a on-site assessment. And one of the interesting parts of the best practices is we've actually carved off a specific set of best practices that deal with specific exploits, petit potems and specter ops. So there are configurations tied to those exploits that we've identified and built those into our best practice sets. And here we have a server set specifically with those exploits so we can show that these alerts are triggered.
And I think when you click on one of the urgent ones that you might have in there,
Sure.
one of the things that I love about this system is that we describe what is making this important and why you should be concerned about it, and then the remediation piece of it. A lot of times when you have a system that says, this is a problem, you need to fix it, well, then you got to go do the research on how to fix it. We've embedded the fix and the remediation portion of it in the alert. So you don't have to call somebody. You just look through this and figure out how to do that.
Yeah, and specifically what we provide remediation instructions on is not the event log, but the actual best practice alerts. For us to be able to say these are issues, we're actually providing, as Brad said, specific instructions on how to resolve.
I think we've got enough time, Lindsay, to go into the alerts, how we can send out alerts to people either through a Splunk interface or through an email interface. Can you kind of maybe go through and create something fresh or show how an alert would be used and give an example of alerts that people would want to have?
Sure. So for every one of the events, best practices, or threats that are generated, we can subscribe to via email those events. So I can go into my event subscriptions, I can create a new subscriptions, and I can search for specific error types, specific event IDs I'm looking for from the log or the controller. I can choose specific, let me go back to agents. I can actually monitor specific agents or all agents. So we can get fairly granular on how we set up these alert notifications. For most new users of Spotlight, we've actually created a default subscription, which we call our high value events, where we've defined what are the must-have minimums for high impact events that could impact the operations or the security of your PKI. And really at that point, you just need to add your email addresses that you want and which agents you want to view. And then we all know that email is maybe not the most efficient way of monitoring. So there's a couple of things you can do. You can set that up, the email, to talk to a service desk. It can create tickets automatically. We can marry the email alerts with digests. So what we've done is we've created let me see if I can pull up one here, is a digest type where we have daily, weekly, and monthly digest frequencies. And it really just takes a delta for whatever that time period is. So daily is every day you get a new email that shows you the changes that have happened in your system. So let me pull one up here. So you can see what one of these looks like in our system. It shows you all of the alerts, what the delta is day over day, where the categories are, and by events and health alerts.
And you can set up business rules too, that if you have a business rule that says a certificate has to be of a particular size, and if somebody generates the certificate of lesser size, you can be alerted, correct?
No, the certificates are based off of specific event IDs.
Got it.
But we do have integration for Splunk. So if you do use a SIEM, we can stream your event and health alerts into Splunk. We actually have a free Splunk app in the Splunk store that you can download where we've created a series of dashboards to get you started.
So now you can see that in the system that we're not only monitoring whether it's working, but we're actually monitoring whether it's secure, which is really, really very important in this day and age, with so many people that can have access, or so many systems that can have access to these types of PKIs. And what's the point of having a system in place that isn't secure? So this is kind of, if you have a lot of companies that we work with, they have penetration tests. And they do the penetration tests on maybe a biannual basis. This is kind of like having a penetration test on your PKI on a real-time basis, so that once you do have that official twice annually PKI test, you're pretty much assured that that your PKI is going to pass. And do you have any anecdotes on this, Nick, Lindsay, that you can kind of share with us on some of the customers that we've had in this area?
For the assessment, well, yeah, an interesting one. We had a law firm who was in the habit of copying certificate templates, replicating them, and making new templates based off of kind of the parent. And by running the best practices, we were able to see which templates had which issues, and we're kind of able to track back the root, that because they were using the same templates as the replication point, they were essentially introducing these vulnerabilities across their entire certificate template fleet. So going in and fixing those kind of parent templates and then replicating from there, we were able to catch and resolve hundreds of templates very quickly. And I think there was a question that popped up regarding extending best practices. We add to best practices all the time. There's no way for a user to directly edit best practices yet. That's definitely something that's in our roadmap. But if any of our customers have specific best practices or additional assessments they want to run, we can absolutely add that. But our library is pretty robust and aligns with industry standards at this moment. And yes, we are coming from a point where we've noticed a shift in general knowledge in the PKI space. We're seeing more and more of our customers have people who are voluntold to manage the PKI, as opposed to people who have real deep subject matter expertise. So we're really making the tool useful for both parties. We have the granularity of data where an expert can go in and find the information on their own, and we have the helpful instructions for those that really don't know anything or very little about PKI.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you'd like to see from this demo, Lindsay?
Yeah, just one other thing that's interesting to see. We do have this Active Directory forest view. This is more informational than anything, but we can actually go through and crawl NT-auth CA, root CA, see all the certificates by each one of these categories, depending on the forest that they're in, and see the configurations. And I can go in and I can look at templates, download templates, etc.
Excellent. Well, we're coming up on the bottom of the hour in here, and I want to kind of close this out. And what I'm hoping is that some people that are familiar with PKI realize the value of being able to have this type of a view of your PKI and your HSMs within your PKI organization. And this is a evolving product. We've been increasing, adding functionality to it. What, about every quarter or so, Lindsay? Is that about?
Yeah, we have larger value drops every quarter, and we do have incremental value drops within the quarter. But there's at least several features that are released on a quarterly basis.
So if you're interested in actually learning about this more and actually maybe putting it in play so you can start playing with this system yourself and get a better feel for it. Again, just remind this is a system that is just collecting data and monitoring. You can't do anything to the system to affect your PKI. It's completely separate from it. So you can kind of, click wherever you want. You're not going to do anything. I know a lot of people that have PKIs and a lot of security solutions. Once it's in place, they're really kind of afraid to touch it. This is kind of a system that you can kind of go in and see what your systems are doing without any fear of doing any damage or changing any configuration that's going to cause any any ripple effects throughout the organization. So we have a offer that we're going to be putting on the screen soon, hopefully by the people back in the room that has this, where we can, if you can send us a message to our website with to our hello page, or it's coming up now. There it is. We can actually, if you kind of go to that QR code and you look at that QR code and you type in the words "spot me" in that QR, when you go to the landing page on that from that QR code, we will contact you and we'll provide you some type of a demo live of this system so that you can kind of get a feel for it yourself. There is a question in the chat. The chat is whether this is a local installation or cloud-based. Could you kind of go into that, Lindsay?
Yeah. So right now we're focused on local installations. We do require a VM inside to host the user interface, the dashboard. We can support cloud technologies. For example, our demo here is hosted in Azure. So it's entirely possible to deploy in cloud. It's just not the primary method of deployment today.
Great. And I kind of want to summarize this. Certificate lifecycle management, which a lot of companies are looking at, is only one part of this equation. You really need to understand your base components within the PKI to really kind of get a better feel for the security of your system. And this is a big one. The digital certificates within organizations are growing. I mean, you go back, 20 years or so, it was basically an SSL, now TLS, and more and more systems are using digital certificates. You've got, VPNs, you've got wireless, you've got bring your own device. I mean, it's really kind of growing exponentially, making it more important that you have a system that is secure to make sure that all those other things are secured. I can't read these things because it's so small. So I just want to kind of focus on the PKI posture management and people looking at security in general. It's not sufficient to know that it's working. You have to know that it's secure. So if you can go back to the screen that has the QR code so that people could kind of go to that and click on it. There it is. And take a look at that. And please, I think if you got this system installed and you can kind of get a feel for it, you'd have a better idea of what it can do for your organization and how much this will help those people that are managing their PKI and allowing them to have the comfort and knowledge that it's secure. Lindsay, do you want anything else?
No, that was great. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us on this webinar. And Nick, do you want to close this out?
No, thank you so much, Brad. Thank you, Lindsay, for walking us through this. That's a great point you mentioned, Brad, and both Lindsay. There's more requirements today, improving not only that your PKI is working, but also that it is secure. Outside of your regularly scheduled audit and or penetration tests or whatever. So I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad you guys got a chance to see a little bit of what PKI Spotlight can do with regards to posture management. And please reach out to us if you have any additional questions. Thank you all for participating and getting your questions in. We'll leave this on for another 30 seconds or so if you want to add any additional questions that you may have. And then we'll look forward to connecting with you guys again. And then next month, we're going to have our own Jake call him Jake G, our lead senior consultant, to come on and walk us through not only war stories, but the most misconfigured items within your PKI. So he'll be giving you some top 10 items that he's noticed that needs to be resolved and fixed. So please have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we look forward to seeing you guys in June. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.